6,000 men died on the last day of World War I, after the armistice had already been signed. Their commanders knew. They sent them anyway. By November 1918, the Western Front had consumed 4 years, 4 empires, and 20 million human lives. The men still alive in the trenches had survived things no human being should ever experience. And still, the guns kept firing. Entire countries had been physically destroyed, villages, forests, farmland erased so completely that some never existed again. Men who had survived 4 years of war wrote home every week, never certain each letter would not be their last. By autumn 1918, Germany was collapsing from within, its army broken, its people starving, its Kaiser losing control of his own nation. For the first time in 4 years, the front line was actually moving. Every soldier on both sides sensed it. The war was finally ending. Inside Germany, the civilian population was starving. The British naval blockade had cut off food supplies for over 2 years. In late October, the German Navy mutinied sailors refused orders to sail on a final suicide mission against the British fleet. Revolution swept through Germany within days, city after city, falling to workers and soldiers, councils demanding an immediate end to the war. In Berlin, the Kaiser's advisors told him the truth: the army could no longer be relied upon. His reign was over. On November 9th, Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated and fled to neutral Holland. The German Empire ceased to exist before breakfast. German representatives arrived at Allied headquarters in a private railway carriage in the Compiègne forest to sign the armistice. At 5 a.m. on November 11th, the armistice was signed. The war would officially end at 11 a.m., 6 hours away. By 5:30 a.m., every commander on the Western Front had been informed the war ends at 11 a.m., 5.5 hours away. In the trenches, soldiers received the news with stunned silence. After 4 years, most had stopped believing this moment would ever come. But some commanders made a different decision. With the war ending in hours, they ordered their men to keep attacking. Across the front, attacks continued through the morning, ordered by commanders who knew the armistice had already been signed. Some artillery units fired continuously until 10:59 a.m., determined to use every shell before the guns fell silent forever. 6,000 men were killed or wounded on the morning of November 11th. After the armistice was signed, more casualties than D-Day 26 years later. At 10:59 a.m., the guns were still firing, men were still dying, and then the second hand touched 11 o'clock. At exactly 11 a.m., every gun on the Western Front fell silent at the same second. The noise that had defined 4 years of existence simply stopped. Soldiers later described the silence as the most terrifying thing they had ever experienced. After 4 years, they had forgotten what it sounded like. One by one, men put down their weapons, not in celebration, not in triumph, just in the sudden, overwhelming realization that it was finally over. Along some sections of the front, soldiers from both sides emerged from their trenches and stood looking at each other across no man's land. There was no cheering along most of the front. Just men standing in silence, weeping for friends who had not lived to see this moment. Men sat down where they stood, too exhausted, too broken, too empty to do anything but exist in the silence they had fought 4 years to reach. 600 kilometers of front line fell silent simultaneously, and the men who had survived simply stood there, not knowing what to do with peace. In London, the news reached the streets within minutes, and the city erupted in the largest spontaneous celebration in British history. In Paris, men wept openly in the streets. France had lost 1.4 million dead. The celebrations were inseparable from the grief. In towns and villages across Britain, the celebrations were quieter. Too many families had already received the telegram that changed everything. In Germany, there were no celebrations, only silence, hunger, and the beginning of a humiliation that would last a generation. In hospitals across France and Britain, wounded men learned the war was over, many too broken to feel anything at all. For the families of the dead, the armistice brought no comfort. The celebrations outside their windows felt like a different world entirely. The war was over. But the world it had created, broken, grieving, and dangerously unstable, was only just beginning. The final count, 20 million dead, 21 million wounded, 8 million taken prisoner, an entire generation of young men gone. Over 1,000 war cemeteries were created across France and Belgium, the final resting places of men from Britain, France, Germany, Australia, Canada, and beyond. The Meningate in Belgium bears the names of 54,896 soldiers who have no known grave, just some of them missing from a single small sector of the front. In June 1919, the Treaty of Versailles placed the entire blame for the war on Germany and demanded punishing reparations that would cripple the nation for a generation. Historians now consider the Treaty of Versailles the direct cause of World War II, the humiliation it imposed on Germany, creating the conditions Hitler needed to rise. In every town and village across Britain, France, and beyond, war memorials were built. Every name on every stone was somebody's son, brother, or father. A century later, the land has healed on the surface, but beneath the fields of France and Belgium, the missing is still there. Every year on November 11th at exactly 11 a.m., Britain, France, Australia, and Canada fall silent for 2 minutes. The guns stopped, and so do we. The red poppy became the symbol of remembrance grown from seeds that bloomed across the disturbed soil of the Western Front battlefields. In the Compiègne forest, a memorial marks the exact spot where the Armistice was signed, where the guns of World War I were finally silenced at 5 a.m. on a cold November morning. The Western Front is green again. The villages are rebuilt. The forests have grown back. But the ground remembers everything. A century later, the question historians still cannot fully answer: was any of it necessary? Could it have been stopped? Was there another way? The tomb of the unknown warrior holds one unidentified soldier chosen to represent the 500,000 British men who have no grave. Every one of them was someone, 20 million dead. For a war that began with one wrong turn on a Sarajevo street, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, lest we forget.